Faster than writing to a letter forum. More thoughtful than angry clickbait. Able to discuss the world's first superhero in comics, film, TV, and more, it's the Supermaniacs! And this is a big, big day for us that I've been looking forward to for a long-ass time. We finally have the first trailer, the teaser trailer, for James Gunn's Superman 2025.
Very exciting day.
Yeah, I'm very excited to get to talking about it with you. So, Mike, how many times have you watched this trailer today?
Probably like 15, 20, something like that. Because I watched a bunch of it while I was working, but then once I was done working, I went straight to my giant TV and watched like another 10 times. And just kept staring at it, just like in awe the whole time.
Yeah, it seems to be getting a lot of attention right now. This is the most I've seen people talking about a trailer probably since the third Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. There's a lot of chatter around that one.
It's huge. It's getting a huge amount of views on pretty much everything right now.
Yeah, it's #1 trending on YouTube. I saw somewhere. So,
like, I think the main trailer on DC has hit 14 million views in 9 hours, which is pretty good.
That's impressive. I know that we've probably watched it a lot, and everyone who is going to be watching or listening to us talk about it here has probably watched it a lot, but we can go ahead and actually take another quick look at it. I'm going to go ahead and share it right now, so everyone get ready for one more viewing of the trailer, and then we'll talk about it in more detail.
Crypto. Home. Take me home.
Superman.
So there is a lot going on in there.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack in this trailer, and it's fascinating what you can glean just from watching this.
I was actually surprised how much they showed us. I wasn't expecting 2 minutes and 20 seconds of footage. I thought that for sure it would be less than 2 minutes, and I thought that they would maybe just show like they would tease some big scene, like maybe like the first time you see them like in the costume in the movie, or like something like that, like the first fight in the movie, But we still don't have like any plot. Like it is like a true teaser trailer, and that like it doesn't give away much story. It's just kind of the tone and the vibes. But we see a lot of characters, a lot of faces, and a lot of locations. So they
Well,
still pack a lot in here.
yeah, what I found really interesting is that we don't even see shots that are in the teaser that we got from the day before.
Right, right. So
Like, there's a ton of shots in this teaser that just are not in this trailer. Specifically, all these or not audience, but crowd shots. There's
yeah,
these crowd
basically
reactions
audience
to something.
reactions.
Yeah, it's crowds reacting to something. You don't know what it is they're reacting to, and there's a shot of Superman flying in it that is also not in this trailer.
Hmm.
And then there's a shot of the daily. I think it's. I don't remember. I don't think this is in this trailer. That large shot of
Right.
the Daily Planet staff and the other teaser that shows everybody.
Right. That was like how it opens. It shows the exterior of the Daily Planet building with like the classic big globe spinning around on top of it, and then it cuts to an interior shot that had like the entire staff. You know, Cat Grant, Lois Lane, Steve Lombard, Ron Troop, Perry White. I
Yeah,
think
which
Jimmy
is
Olsen's there.
yeah. The entire. I think everybody except for the chief is standing right there, and there again, everybody's reacting to something. Not a single one of those shots is in this trailer, and I find that fascinating.
Yeah, so we can talk about like the trailer. Just we'll kind of like go through it and talk about it. And if you're watching on YouTube, you'll have some imagery on screen. But everyone else, if you're listening to this on the podcast format, you've probably already seen the trailer. But that first shot we get of Superman is interesting. You know, kind of our first presentation of David Cornswet's Superman is him getting the shit kicked out of him. The joke that's going around is that he's Yamcha'd. They
Yeah,
Yamcha'd our boy.
Yamcha got Yamcha. Yeah, he got like the first time we see him, he's fighting for his life, and it's like, wow, that's a hell of a way to introduce your new version of Superman to the world.
But you know, there's that constant criticism that a lot of us hear all the time about like it's so hard to make Superman relatable. It's so hard to humanize him. And I guess like yeah, if you show him just getting the shit kicked out of him, it makes him pretty easy to connect to. Like I've certainly felt pretty beat up like that in my life. So
Yeah, it's. I think it's a good move because it immediately humanizes him. Because you think about that, the Batman v Superman thing is like, do you bleed thing? It's like, oh, he's bleeding immediately.
yeah. Oh yeah, this answers that question right off the bat. Yeah. Do you bleed? Yeah. Apparently I do.
He bleeds a lot, as it turns out.
The Batman of the DCU does not have to ask that question. Like we all find that out immediately.
He
It
just
just
does bleeds all the time.
we also get like a good look at the suit. The previous images that we've gotten of David Cornswet in the suit. You know, there was the poster, and then there was the animated poster they put out a couple of days ago for the
Yeah,
trailer. Uh, Both of those, you don't really see him like in broad daylight. You know, from head to toe, like you do in the trailer. So I noticed like the trunks are a lot longer than I thought. It's kind of like that Darwin Cook design, you know, where they're more like shorts than briefs. I like that.
yeah. I think that's part of him taking inspiration from All Star because that's how they all on All Star as well.
Oh yeah, there's several visual things in this trailer that are pulled from All Star Superman.
There's one specifically that people are like they're speculating, but I'm like, no, but it's obvious what it is because of the way it takes from All Star. And I
Are
think
you
you know
talking
what
about the
I'm talking
robot?
about. Yeah, the robot. The robot is exactly what I mean. Because I've had some people be like, "What's the robot?" I'm like, it's clearly one of his Fortress robots because it has the blue
The
capes
blue
that they
cape.
had from All Star. And I was like, oh, that's fun. I'm really happy that he decided to go with robots in the Fortress because I don't think any of them have really done that outside of those tiny robots in Man of Steel.
Right. That was something that when we were doing our first show and we were going through the things that we like about Superman, the things our favorite lesser known Superman allies and enemies. I said that I like the Superman robots, the Fortress robots. I was so surprised that apparently James Gunn does too. And we get one of them in the trailer.
Yeah, he's clearly inspired by a lot of different storylines mixed together, as well as just like a lot of great imagery that we have never really had a chance to see in live action before, and I think that's really cool. Stuff that we haven't seen at least in a long time, live action wise as well, like the Daily Planet
Yeah.
and its globe. I don't mean like that makes it sound like Snyder to have the Daily Planet. No, I mean like the more stylized Daily Planet, like a place that you're like that is a place that would be a tourist attraction of its own kind of thing.
Yeah, in the Art Deco design, that the Snyder movie just chose, not to engage in. They had a very like plain, simple building that wouldn't stand out in the skyline of any major city.
Yeah, you would just be like, is that supposed to be the Daily Planet? I'm like, I think it's got a sign for it. I guess like I'm sure it's boring to work there, kind of thing. It's probably most people's thought process looking at it. Like it looked like any old office. Where in this movie, it looks like I said, like if I was a tourist in Metropolis, I would outright just go to the Daily Planet just to look at it.
Yeah. uh, I want to ask you about the Richard Donner influence that seems to be in this honestly in like everything Superman at this point. But not only do we get like the Williams score on like the guitar riff, another thing that was different in the teaser trailer, but also like the font that they're using in the marketing is very similar to that Superman the movie font, and even like the credits, like here where it says from James Gunn. And later, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, I almost expect this lettering to fly off and streak away, like how it did in the Donner movies.
Oh, I was expecting it the whole time, especially because you can see the space in the back of it every
Yeah.
time, and I was expecting it to be like, whoosh, yeah, that whoosh that it does when it comes at you, kind of thing. That's the only thing that slightly disappoints me, only because I was hoping it would try to deviate itself by having its own song right away, because there's been a lot of really great Superman themes over the years that
Hmm.
have differentiated themselves enough from this. Like I'm a big fan of the one from Superman and Lois. I'm a big fan of the Hans Zimmer one. I'm also a big fan of the animated series one.
Oh
I'm even
yeah.
a fan of some of the ones they've used in their animated movie stuff, even though they're like hit or miss. But they always try to be different, and so I was only a little disappointed, but I get why he did it, because it's obvious what he's trying to do is he's trying to invoke the hope that series gave people, as well as like get people excited. So I'm hoping that there's a little less of it and more of their own spin to it. Like I don't mind it having in the song, but I hope it's not exactly the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that is like so iconic. It's hard, it's a tough act to follow. Like anything else you do, people are going to compare it to the Donner theme. So I think the best approach is to incorporate the Donner theme into an original score, which I'm under the impression that is what they're doing. I don't know like how much the Donner theme will be in the movie, but I'm hoping it's just reserved for special moments. I want to hear it, but I don't want to hear it as much as I did in Superman Returns. But I also
Yeah.
don't want them to ignore it like they did in Man of Steel. There's a happy middle ground there.
Yeah, no, there is a happy middle ground. I'm hoping, like, honestly, part of me feels like he's trying to Force Awakens Superman, if that makes sense. Because the way Force Awakens was, is it tried like invoking a class of returning to form, kind of thing
Right.
of the universe, and it feels almost like he's doing that. Like he's trying to trick us into like being like, eh. I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily, though, because it worked for Force Awakens. Don't get me wrong.
In the live audience movie magic, my friend Robbie is saying. Also, I hope the guitar theme was just for the trailer. I prefer the slower tease music. Yeah, like I don't know if we'll actually hear that guitar riff in the movie or what kind of moment it would be used for. But yeah, all of the stuff like the woman humming, the melancholy humming version of the Donner theme that was in the teaser trailer. Who knows if the stuff will be in the movie or if they're just using it for marketing.
I'm curious as to what they're doing with it, because as I mentioned before, the teaser had a different song, or the teaser had a different song, had
Hmm.
different imagery. This has, you know what it reminds me of? The difference between the Halo theme and the Halo 2 theme, where because the Halo 2 theme was the guitar.
But it had the guitar. I liked
And
that though. I
so,
liked when they added the guitar. I thought that was
no, I was
fun.
fine with it. I'm fine with it. It's just it's interesting to sell this movie with the guitar version of a John Williams theme, because I think it's doing the opposite of what a lot of other movie trailers do, where they take the original one and they do the slow, melancholy version of it. Because you've seen that in a lot of trailers, right?
Yeah, totally. They either have like a woman singing it sadly, or they're having it played on the piano really slowly. Like they
Yeah,
did that in some of the Star Wars movies. They have the Star Wars theme on the piano.
the Ghostbusters did the same thing at one
Right,
point,
right.
and it's just like, huh? Actually, so it ends up actually becoming different. It's almost different because it's doing that, but without just being like the melancholy, like you remember this thing. Instead, it was like, no, you're going to remember it as hard as I possibly could make you remember this.
But I don't really think that they're leaning into the nostalgia too much. There's really not any member berries in here. There's some like familiarity if you're a comic reader, but otherwise, like the general audience, like they don't know this blue caped robot that we're talking about. They don't
They really
know
don't.
Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, or Metamorpho or Hawk Girl. Like a lot of that is new to people. So
That's the thing. I've had people talk. I've had people message me and comment on stuff where they're like, "I feel like there's too much genre," and I'm like, I just don't see it. I get the song part and I get the title parts of it, where it says directed by and all that stuff. But the rest of the footage is not that. It's not. There's never a point where it's just like it has some sort of voiceover with a Marlon Brando type line. There's never a point where him and Lois are doing something that's exactly from the other movies. Because one person was like, one of my friends was just like, "Oh, they're flying together." I'm like, "Yeah, but that's what else are you gonna do? That's just what they do. He holds her and he flies up." Because he thought they were doing that thing where she puts her feet on his boots and they like fly upwards, but that's not what's happening in that scene. So it's like, well, that's not even what you thought it was. And then they tried bringing up the fortress. I'm like, that fortress has looked like that in comics for like what 40 years at this point, if not longer, 50, 60 years. So it's like, of course it's going to look like it always does. It's not taking
yeah, they
like
used like the
imagery from that.
sunstone design in Smallville. They used it on Superman Return. Well, Superman Returns was unapologetically like leaned into the Donner stuff. I think too much to its detriment.
Yeah, but like I said, comics have been doing it for decades, but
Hmm.
nobody gives them shit for it, kind of thing. It's like, Christopher Reeve. It's like, no, that's what it looks. That's what the fortress looks like, man. It's looked like that for decades. And so,
What?
yeah, the movie itself, like everything it shows, I didn't have any hint of like it trying to be nostalgic, Christopher Reeves type stuff. In fact, the teaser only has like a Man of Steel type nostalgic reference in it. So it's like I don't know where they're getting all this like it's all just like the Donner thing. I'm like, no, it's not. It has the song and that's it. That's as far as I'm willing to go with it doing the Donner thing.
Let me ask you about like the look of Clark. I know like when we talked about him before, you said you were a little concerned with the choice they went for Clark Kent's hair. Very modern with like the big curly, poofy hair on top and like short on the sides. But what do you think about it now that you've seen it in motion a little bit in a few
Well,
shots here?
now that I've seen it in motion, I'm a lot more accepting of it because there's some shots where it doesn't because like this shot we're on right here, that's very similar to the one that we saw before, where it was at
Yeah,
its poofiest.
yeah.
And I do mean poofiest because there are shots you see of him later where his hair doesn't look that puffy, if that makes sense. Because I saw a behind the scenes shot recently where they put the camera right in front of him and it didn't look anything close to that like puff on his front wise. And so, but what I love about it is that seeing it in motion and then seeing him in motion as Superman, they look like two completely different people.
Yeah, it really obscures a lot of his face, having his forehead covered with the bangs and like the glasses. It's almost like he's walking around with a built-in Batman cowl to hide his face. And when you see him on the farm with Pa Kent, he doesn't look like this. He has more of his face exposed. He doesn't have to put on the mask, put on the disguise that he
Well,
does
even
when
then,
he's.
there's a shot later on where he's sitting at his desk and the hair doesn't even look like that. If you can get to that real quick.
Yeah, I know the exact
Yeah,
moment
it's
you're
right
talking
there.
about. It's
Yeah,
it
that. It
reminds
looks
me of
nothing like it.
It reminds me so much of Brandon Routh. There's a shot in the trailer of Clark turning around from his desk in the Daily Planet office, and there's a very similar shot in Superman Returns of Brandon Routh just looking like the office goober at his desk.
And I think it's great. It looks so fantastic. Like that, like I said, that's a great shot that just is like I don't know what it is that's different about what it looks like in that other shot, but he still looks like a different person. Like if this was real life and Superman existed, and I knew Clark Kent, and I saw him with these hairstyles, and somebody goes, "That guy's Superman," I'd be like, "Him? Nah." Like, look at that
No,
dude.
no,
Like,
not
his,
this big
yeah,
goofy dude here. Like,
yeah. Look
no,
at
no
his
way.
you think he can get his hair that fast, like done that fastly? Like, I know he's Superman, but come on, like I would be confused. I'd be like, I don't. That doesn't make any sense. Like, you look at his hair, they're so completely different. Like, I couldn't fathom the idea that that's the exact same guy. Like, I generally couldn't, and I kind of love that.
We see a lot of Lois in this trailer. So we see her kissing Clark and kissing Superman. I'm going to predict that by the time the movie opens, Lois is in on the secret. She knows who he is, and they're already in a relationship.
It makes the most sense, especially with the shot where she's in the. It's clear it's like his apartment or something. Like he's like it's also clear that it's like the shot from the poster because all the stuff's going on in the background while he's there, and she's like, it looks like she's talking to him, kind of thing. Yeah, this shot right here. So I think it's this is speculations. I think the idea is that he just went through whatever that insane shit was in the where the Guy Gardner shot is, where his suit's all messed up, because that's very similar to what that teaser image we got of him was while everything was going on in the background. And she's probably just there to give him a pep talk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm thinking like the shot of Lois with Superman in front of a like looks like it might be like an apartment window, but we see some crazy action going out there, some big sci-fi stuff. Like I don't know if it's Guy Gardner doing Green Lantern stuff, but there's like some green glowy stuff going on.
Yeah, there's a better shot of it. I think a little earlier on. I'm trying to figure out where. It's because it shows it real quick when she's first, like, because he's like sitting down when he's talking to her. At one point, there it is. That shot.
Yeah. So
it's like,
this
what
was
is
the
going on
weird-
in this specific scene?
the weird laser ball thing, like the big glowy Death Star thing shooting a beam. I don't know what it's doing. I don't know if it's like destroying the city. He's kind of like taking his time to deal with it. Talking to Lois here, that's kind of like the joke in that first poster. Is like, why is he putting his boots on so slowly when this thing seems to be doing whatever the hell it's doing outside? I don't know. I don't know what this is.
It's hard. There's speculation that it's the Sun Eater from
All Star.
From All Star. But the problem is we're not sure, because it could, like you said, it could be anything. It could be Mr. Terrific and Green Lantern fighting something for all we know, and that's why it has that color. Or it could be, who knows if it's even destroying the city. Who knows what's happening at that? Because he doesn't seem to have. I don't know if it's a sense of urgency, but I think he's just depressed. It's really hard to tell, because like the way that teaser's image was, and also the kind of look on his face right there, he looks like he's like, I don't really want to deal with this right now. And she seems to. I assume she's giving him a pep talk, because that's one of the things like people are speculating, like what is it going on in the scene that's keeping him from like just flying right out there? Because it's not like he's dressed like Clark in the scene. He's clearly wearing the outfit, and he's in like some sort of office or apartment or something with Lois, and then she hugs him. Because that's the other thing. A lot of people are like, why are they making out in the middle of this? I'm like, they're not, because those are two clearly different scenes.
Yeah.
When she kisses him right after that.
And we don't know what this thing is doing, if it's like a laser that's destroying. It could be like a scanning beam that's like searching for Superman, or I don't know. It could be like all kinds of sci-fi reasons for that.
Yeah, there's a lot of speculation, at least of what, because we don't know what's going on. We really don't. There's, he's right.
Yeah, Joel says no hero would have broccoli hair, a perfect disguise.
It's perfect. Yeah, there's one shot that I'm obsessed with, that I'm absolutely obsessed with, because I want to know what the hell it means. It's the scene where he punches out of this glass case of some kind in the middle of it's around here, where that shot right there, because it's clear that, like, if you pause it in just the right way, I've been looking at this thing like fucking nonstop since it came out, that they're like in cases, like him and whoever is around him are like kidnapped or something in a case, and he's like clearly escaping or something. So it's like, what does that mean? Like, what is what does it all mean? I want to know. I know I can't. I have to wait till the movie comes out or another trailer comes out. But I am obsessed with that shot because it's the most thing I don't understand so far of what we
Yeah.
know so far, at least, if that makes sense.
Or maybe like he's surrendered himself to the authorities. I have some theories on that, but I want to ask you about the farmhouse. We see the Kent home, and I really loved how it looked. It's not like that romanticized depiction of like the farmhouse and like a Norman Rockwell painting. You know, like a big beautiful 2-story house. This looks like this looks like a house that like a friend of mine might live in, or like their parents might live in, you know, just
It
like
looks
a
like
typical modest house.
yeah, it looks like a house I could see in Kyle, or like if you're driving outside of the Austin city limit area where all the woods are. Like it looks
Yeah.
like that sort of thing. Like this is a very modest house. It's the house of an actual farmer, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah.
farmer doesn't afford super large, houses, not in this economy at least. And the fact that there's only like some cows, he's not like fucking giant herds of cows.
Yeah. Just has one truck, just has like an old Chevy truck. It just looks like a pretty typical, you know, blue collar family in rural America house. Now
Yeah.
it's interesting we don't see Martha Kent in any of this, but we see a sad Jonathan Kent who's like crying on the front porch with his son. I'm wondering if James Gunn is going to flip the script, and in this movie, Martha is the one who died. And
I would love that so much.
I don't know. I really want. I mean, I know that Martha is in the movie. I know that they cast someone, but I would be so sad if Superman's mom uh, was gone, and I don't. I would feel really sorry for the two of them. Like the movie is gonna make me cry so much. I'm kind of like sensitive to stories about like boys and their moms. Anyways, it's kind of an
No, I
easy way to pull
am.
on my heartstrings. But
Yeah, I am too. Because okay, my preference has always been they're both alive. That's always been my preference. Is that the Kents are alive and he can go to them every now and then, for a sense of normalcy in a very wacky, insane world that he lives in. Um, whereas where everybody's like, well, we want Jonathan to die. Like, there's so many things I've read, so many people, so many Twitter people on Twitter, all these things where they're like, Jonathan needs to die, like every single time, because it's like the easiest way of teaching Clark that his powers can't save everyone is the way Jonathan normally dies, which is he has a heart
mhm.
attack and he can't super speed a heart attack away, kind of thing. And so I think it would be a subversion of expectations if you changed who died instead. And then I would also like to see how that affects even his life in outside of Metropolis, kind of thing. Because we're so used to, like, even in stuff when the mom dies, he always goes back to the mom, and the mom's very frail. She's just like, I'm surviving, kind of thing. But I think it would be interesting to see what life would be like for Clark if his dad's still just farming when he goes out there, and that's his dad's piece or something after Martha's gone or something. But again, this is speculation on our part. But I would be genuinely interested to see why they look so sad, because there's a reason they're hugging on each other. It's, for all we know, it's a past shot where he's talking about leaving home or something that he's thinking about while he's bleeding out or something. It could go either way. So I'm interested. That's the thing. That's the great thing about this teaser. Everything it shows me, I'm just on board for whatever I'm looking at right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and that would be a way to kind of make this movie unique and stand apart if it was like Martha has died and Jonathan's still alive. I do kind of like that notion of like you can have your cake and eat it too. You know, I like them having like one parent alive, so you can do the Lois and Clark thing or the John Byrne thing, and have him have like some family he can talk to, and he doesn't have to put on the Clark Kent disguise or like the Superman public superhero persona. He can just like be himself, be vulnerable with someone. But having it not be, I guess that's funny for me to admit to, but I guess like I would be less sad if Jonathan is dead. I guess I'm more used to that idea. If his mom is dead, I'd be more sad. But
It's more expected. It's like every
yeah,
time Uncle Ben dies, you're just like, well, there goes Uncle Ben. Like I'm not sad because it's Uncle Ben. But I'm still sad. You know what I mean? I'm sad, but I'm not like, oh my god, I can't believe they killed Uncle Ben. It's like, no, this is just how it happens. But if Jonathan survived and Martha went down instead, this, like, with a heart attack or just any other reason, car accident or something, I would be like, oh shit, like that's legitimately really depressing because I wasn't prepared for it. Even though I'm saying like it would be interesting if it still happened, I generally would be like, oh shit, like I would be like super depressed by it. I feel.
Yeah, but having one parent die, yeah, having him lose like a loved one that he grew up with is a good way to humanize the character though, and give him that relatability. What did you think when he whistles and calls for crypto? Like as soon as he
We
started whistling, I got excited.
I got super excited because I was worried. I was curious what he was doing, but the second he whistled, I'm like, that was one thing I was surprised by. I didn't expect to see crypto in this trailer. I assumed it would be like saved for another trailer. I am so okay. Like the rest of the internet. Of course, I'm in love with crypto, the super dog, but I'm in love with the fact that his cape looks like it was kind of haphazardly made. If you really look at it,
Right, you can wait. Is that stitching? I think that might be snowflakes on his cape. But there's
no,
another
because
shot
there's
of
like
it
another shot where
here.
it looks like it's like almost stitched kind of differently than the rest of it. Like it looks almost like he stitched it himself or something. Like there's a few shots that make me think that there's something different about the way the cape is made. I'm trying to remember. It's because it's another shot from like I think the back or something.
I love that this movie has Crypto the Superdog in it, and that he has like the actual like red cape on his collar. Like it is silly, it is ridiculous, and I absolutely love it. Like this movie is bold and brave enough to do this type of thing. Like it takes balls to do this. For decades, Hollywood was scared to really embrace the absurdity of comics, the audacity. Superheroes are very audacious. It's insane stories like uh, what we see later with him fighting like a kaiju and all of that stuff. I want that bigger than life stuff.
It's the thing that's been missing from comic book movies for quite some time because there's a lot of comic book movies in the beginning. Like I felt like we're doing that. Like I felt like the beginning of the MCU was really embracing how insane the idea of Captain America being in World War II fighting supervillain Nazis kind of thing. Like I felt like they played with that more. I felt like the Incredible Hulk played with that more with having the way the Abomination was, and like some of the more wacky aspects of those things. And then at some point, people just forgot that comic books were wacky. I don't know when that happened, but at least I know when it happened with DC. We know when the DC fans stopped remembering that comic books are wacky. But I feel like even the MCU's like, well, we're trying to be grounded. It's like, yeah, but I don't really care about grounded. That's the reason I like No Way Home because it's batshit insane. But like, I felt like DC was missing it more than anybody else. Not just because of the fact that it was grounded, is because Batman made people think that's what all of DC was outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything DC was grounded. There are no insane super animals. Or there's no like the mandates that of the 90s really slowed down the weird fun of the comics. But James Gunn is a is a student of the wackier side of DC, and it shows in everything he does, whether it's the Suicide Squad, Creature Commandos, this, and even his pitches for stuff on the Guardian side, on Marvel side. He looks at the weirder things, and that's where
Yeah,
he feels the most comfortable.
yeah, like using Mogo the Living Planet in Guardians. Or not, no, I mean not
Not
Mogo,
Mogo,
that's
yeah,
the DC
Ego,
guy, but
yeah,
Ego.
yeah.
It's like that everything at Marvel and DC, there's a equivalent at the other company. But to me, like DC was always the less realistic of the two big two. Like the recent movies kind of would have it the other way around, where Marvel has the more like insane fantasy stuff and bigger than life sci-fi stuff than DC, and DC is more like gritty and realistic. But the comics were never like that. Kind of like Stan Lee was the guy who was like, oh, what if we made superheroes a little bit more like the real world? And DC was always the more like, this is just like a very different world. Their city is called Metropolis and Gotham. It's a different place. It's not your reality.
Yeah, everything in the DC universe is fun, weird. Jimmy Olsen turns into a turtle every other week, like shit
Yeah.
like that. Like Whereas on the Marvel side, it's like, Betty, what are you up to? Is like, my brother died. And you're like, oh, well, that's not wacky at all. Like stuff like that. And then you're just like, and then DC would be like, what's DC up to? It's like, Superman turned into a lion person because of kryptonite. You're like, cool. Like, you would just have to deal with that stuff at the DC universe. And then, Batman, the Batman Begins series, or the Dark Knight trilogy, really caused a lot of people to be like, to the opposite route. They're like, embrace the seriousness of what that you can do with these characters. It's like, no, I get why you decided that was, like, the money showed you that you think that's a good idea, and I get it.
Right.
The problem is, these were not the characters you should. The rest of the characters are not what you should be doing that with.
I love the Nolan Batman movies. I think that's like a not a quite perfect trilogy, but really damn good. But it's like those movies, they weren't allowed to feel comic booky ever. Like, they always had to like be, we're like serious, dramatic movies. It just has like really good action set pieces.
Yeah, even the wackier stuff in Man of Steel, for instance, him being an alien, there being a wonderful mystical planet called Krypton. There's like a war going on in it. There's serious political conflicts going on it. Jor-El dies in like a hand-to-hand fight with Zod. Like, all this serious, crazy shit. And you're just like, where's the fun in this? Like, there's no real, like, you're treating Krypton like Avatar, like this very serious planet, whereas Krypton should be more of this. It's like, you should feel sad that Krypton exploded. You know what I mean? Like, you should see Krypton and be like, this is a fantastical world full of wonders that we could only imagine because they were so scientifically advanced, that it's a shame that they still exploded because of their own hubris. Where when you watch Man of Steel, you're just like, yeah, they killed themselves because they were just fighting over wars over and over again. And you don't really feel bad so much as you're just like, well, that's just life. Like, I feel like we're going to get to that point one of these days based on how things are going. It's like, there's no escapism to it. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels weird, as I think is the best way of putting it.
Let's talk about Lex. We see a little bit of Lex Luthor in this movie, played by Nicholas Hoult. The first shot we get of him, I really love. He's in his big tower, his skyscraper in Metropolis, and he sees Superman flying around off in the distance, like this, just like this little speck. Like, he's like this little fly, this little pest that keeps bothering him.
I love this shot mostly because when Lex sees him, he immediately turns around and has the most like "fuck that guy" look on his face. It's so great.
James Gunn had an event Monday where he was talking about the movie with the press and they screened this trailer for certain people, and I think it might have come out there. But I recently learned that Gunn said in this movie, Lex does not like Superman, but at the beginning of the movie, they've never met. They don't know each other personally.
Oh.
So that's interesting to me. I was kind of hoping that Lex would have like the big L-shaped building, but it looks like they're going with something a little different. There's a shot of like two skyscrapers with a bridge connecting them that's labeled Luthor Corp. So they're going with Luthor Corp, not Lex Corp.
Yeah. I know some people have been disappointed by that. I am one of those people, to be honest. I like Lex
me
Corp.
too.
I
like
love
Lex
the way
more.
Lex Corp rolls off the tongue. Really well. 2, it is so fucking egotistical. I can't help but love it. And 3, Luthor Corp just doesn't roll off the tongue the same way.
Some people have said that they think this is the engineer, the authority character that we know is in the movie, but we see someone going across this bridge between the two Luthor Corp buildings.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we forget there's so many characters that are still not even in this.
Mm-hmm.
There's like hints of them. There's one in particular that we'll talk about later, but there's something going on with Lex because he's got this gun, this revolver.
Yeah, it could be kryptonite bullets, or it could be, who knows? It could be like, this is the gun I used to like kill my dad with, or like, I don't know. He seems to have like some type of
He's clearly
interesting thoughts going
distressed.
on.
Yeah, he's clearly distressed in some way. His tie is undone because Lex is the kind of guy who would absolutely button his top tie and wear his tie as tight as possible the whole time until he's not. Either one, he's distressed, or 2, he's in like somebody can't see him or something. So he's clearly doing something with it because he cocks it and everything. So
And later we see him beat up. He's got kind of like some cuts and bruises on his face. So maybe
yeah,
like he's attacked by something. Maybe like his own creation. There's a lot of action of like Superman fighting someone in a black suit. We don't know who that is.
yeah, that's this one that people are speculating on because there were some set photos of whoever this guy is. Some
Mhm.
people kept claiming he's Ultraman, but I'm like, I don't really know. It's hard to really know what he's supposed to be.
Yeah, like Ultraman seems weird to me. Like I don't see any hint of Ultraman, or people don't know who we're talking about. That is from Earth 3, the alternate universe in DC Comics where there's an evil version of the Justice League, the Crime Syndicate of America instead of the Justice League of America, and their version of Superman, their evil Superman is called Ultraman. Um, I I think that there is like some information that leaked about like the toy line. Like maybe there's a Ultraman toy, but I don't know if just because like there's a toy coming out named Ultraman, I don't know if that's this black suited figure.
It's hard to really be sure. Before we move on from Nicholas Holt completely, can we talk about how perfect he looks bald?
I see so many people complimenting that too. Like a lot of people are like, "Oh yeah, Nicholas Hoult was born to be bald." So
He looks amazing. Like it's such a perfect round Lex type head. It sounds weird saying it that way, but because I've met a few people where when they shave their head, they have their very
it looks
bumpy.
awkward sometimes.
Yeah, you're like don't ever do that again kind of thing is your thought process. When you look at him, you're like that dude. I could see that guy being like that all the time, like that.
Yeah.
Like that looks great on him.
Good job, Cue Ball. And also, I heard Nicholas Hoult say that he took inspiration from how another All Star Superman thing, but how Frank quietly drew Lex in All Star Superman as a bit more of a buff guy. Like he kind of sees Superman as competition, so he's like, I got to stay in shape. I got to look good because of this. My enemy is like this big beefcake, so he stays fit. So he said that he you can't really see any muscle because he's got a suit on in this whole trailer, but apparently he beefed up a little bit.
It makes sense. Yeah, Lex has to stay as fit as possible because he has to live as long as possible so he can kill Superman.
Yeah, in the old days, they used to frequently depict him as kind of a chubby guy, but I don't like that. I like the more fit Luthor.
I'm cool with either one, depending on what the situation calls for.
So at some point in the movie, it looks like the public is turned against him. There's shots of like the old man throwing the can at him, and uh, that's when his suit looks kind of burnt up. Like I think this might be from fighting the fire breathing kaiju that we see in the trailer,
It makes the most sense.
so maybe like that kaiju fight, like maybe something like went badly in that, and that's why everyone is mad at Superman, or Lex is saying things, doing things to turn people against him. But when we see like the sad Superman go into a building, it's labeled Stag Industries.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting because it means that he must have walked in that building on purpose, kind of thing, because there's all those other heroes hanging out inside of it.
Yeah, that's where we get our first look at both Hawk Girl and Guy Gardner Green Lantern, who looks perfect. I love the it's like the ugliest, stupidest, most ridiculous haircut ever, and I love it on Nathan Fillion.
He looks amazing, like in the worst possible way. Like there's something pompous about the way he carries himself and just the little bit of shots we got, and I think it's perfect because of it.
I don't know if these two shots are meant to be connected because right here, the first shot of Guy, you see Hot Girl behind him, and then he does something with his ring, and then it cuts to Mr. Terrific standing behind Guy Gardner. So I don't know what's going on there, but I don't know. Is Guy like is he helping Superman out? Is he trying to like give him some privacy? Like I'll use my Green Lantern construct to block out the angry public, or is he about to like fight Superman? Is he pissed off at Superman? He doesn't want people to see it.
It's hard to tell because it's Guy Gardner.
Yeah, it could go either way.
It's just Guy Gardner. Like for all we know, it's both. Like we generally don't know about Guy Gardner, and I think it's because I think that shot is him giving them privacy because Superman's probably there to talk or something after what happened. Because what we know of so far of the story is that these heroes seem to be like almost sponsored. That's why a lot of them are wearing very similar outfits. kind of thing, and so maybe
Yeah,
SAG Industries is what's like sponsoring them.
well, Maxwell Lord is in the movie too, so I think it might be a
Oh,
Maxwell
that's
Lord
right.
thing, kind of like Justice League International. Gunn has said that there is no Justice League yet in the DCU. That's not a thing, but maybe Maxwell Lord is trying to build a Justice or build like a corporate Justice League.
That makes sense based on what little we know of it, and maybe he's there to talk to them. I don't know. Like we generally, again, this is a great teaser because it has us speculating, and that's the great things about it's a great teaser when it has you just being like,
Hmm.
please tell me more.
Yeah, and I think that's why they gave us so much because there is so much gorgeous footage in this movie. They can like, oh, we can really like show a lot of little snippets in here and get a lot of conversation going. In the live audience, Movie Magic also says, "I love when we see Soups do international stuff, and we get a shot of that. Some looks like international trouble in another country. The little kid raising the flag and calling out to Superman for help.
It says like Baruvian or something in another shot that says where they are.
Yeah, so not the fictional country that's currently in James Gunn's Creature Commandos. I think that's Polka Stand.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, it begins with a P. This one begins with a B. So DC has a few fictional countries. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like DC's like a different world. Like I don't want DC to be like uh real world geopolitical stuff because like it doesn't like our real world doesn't make sense. That was the problem they had in the comics in the 40s, and they're like, how can we tell World War II stories? Like Superman could just go like beat up Hitler and end the war in 5 minutes. So it's like you have to create these fictional situations for these bigger than life characters.
yeah. It's the reason why Gotham makes sense in a world like this, because in real life you'd be like, well, everybody would have just you know every one of those villains that got arrested would just be death penalty like every 20 seconds. Like in the entirety of Gotham, but in Gotham it's a fake place. These people endure things. They're not animals, or the good people are not animals that are like, oh, we have to murder everything. And so you get the sense of like, oh, it's a fictional world. Batman lives there, Superman lives in Metropolis, Flash lives in Central City. Like every one of these cities has something so specific about them that makes them so drastically different from just going to, like, say, Chicago. You want, when you look at DC, you want to live in the world of DC. You look at
Totally, yeah.
DC, like you want to live in Central City, you want to live in Star City, you want to live in Metropolis, you want to look at Gotham City from afar because you don't want to step foot in Gotham City.
I would maybe visit. I would I don't know. The Gotham nightlife might be fun to experience if you're feeling brave. If you're
That's
brave
maybe,
and
yeah.
bold.
Yeah. but they're all things, but again, they're all so unique that like you can see why every one of these characters emerges from such a fantastical world. When you look at Marvel is like, oh, we're all real places, everything's a real place. This is the reason these characters are the way they are, and so everything makes sense in that world because of it. And then, whereas I don't see that working the same way. Like that was the reason I think the DCU failed, is that it didn't embrace what DC actually was.
Or why the DCEU failed.
Yes. What did I say?
DCU, I think.
Either way, but that's the reason the Snyderverse failed. Is Snyder? There's a line from Snyder that says it all, where he's just like, if you don't think these heroes killed, then you live in a dream world. They're like, yes, that is the point. The
Yeah.
DC universe is the dream world side of comic books. It's where everybody loves everybody, where Superman is the world's greatest superhero, and there's very few people, and the few people that hate him is purely because they want to murder the shit out of him, kind of thing.
Yeah, what was so funny about that is the Manchester Black conversation with Superman from the comics, where someone basically accused Superman of living in a dream world, and he says like, "Good, like I want to live in a dream world, like
Yeah.
I dream of a better world."
That's like, yeah, he's like, that's what I'm fighting for. And for some reason Snyder just was like, no, we want realism in our superhero things. I'm like, yeah, we want that in Batman, but that's the only character we want that from. And even then, I'm sick of realistic Batman.
Me too. Give me a Batman that can fight Clayface and Man-Bat and Mr. Freeze in live action. That's what I
Like
want.
like every time Snyder's Batman was in the Justice League, they're like, why are you here? You are too realistic to be here, kind of thing.
Yeah, he had to like get guns and shoot things, and it's like that's like against the whole point of Batman. But uh, Movie Magic talks about Supergirl in the live chat. He says, "I wonder if Supergirl is gonna show up, or if that's just going to be her film. We could see them cross over." Millie Alcock, right? That's her name. She was
Yeah.
the young Targaryen in House of the Dragon. But she's going to be in this movie. We don't see her in the trailer. She's another missing character. You know, we know that Lex has an Otis. There's no Otis in here. There's no Martha Kent. There's no Supergirl. I don't think we'll see a ton of Supergirl. I think the movie might deal with her arrival, kind of like the Jeff Loeb Superman Batman story about that reintroduced Supergirl in the comics.
Yeah, that was our speculation at one point. I don't remember if it was me or you or somebody else that was talking to, where maybe the movie ends with her showing up. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. Like him not being alone outside of crypto anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think of like the look of like the kaiju thing that he's fighting? It doesn't really look familiar to anything I can think of from the comics.
I don't think it's specifically anything. It looks like it's like a fusion of a few specific type of animals. Like the what is that thing called? The axle toddle. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, like the salamander thing.
Yeah, it looks kind of like it's got the head of a salamander type thing. Shoots fire, but it's got like almost like an armor casing around its arms there, and we see its foot when he saves the little girl.
The little girl, yeah,
because it's like stepping on something. But like I don't as far as I know, I don't think it's from anything. I can't recall ever seeing an animal or monster that looks just like that. But you know.
I think that this fight involves the other heroes, Guy Gardner, Mr. Terrific, and Hawk Girl, because we see Hawk Girl in the trailer flying around in daylight in the city. So it looks like similar to when the kaiju is breathing fire on Superman. And then later after that, when we see Superman in like the burnt suit, he's hanging out with those other people in the stag building that he walks into.
Part of my theory about this scene is that maybe they end up stopping the giant monster, and that's why he's all burnt up, because like maybe he like failed to do it at that during that sequence, and everybody's like, why would you get in their way, kind of thing. Because I think that's part of the reason why I think Guy Gardner's walking so like cocky. Like at least that's part of what I'm, especially with Mr. Terrific in the back, because Mr. Terrific is clearly like wearing something.
Yeah, like a jetpack or something.
Yeah, they used to maybe fight that thing, and then especially with Hawk Girl having fought it, like maybe that is the same shot. It's just that she's so far to the left that she's covered by the wall or something.
Yeah,
we're not really sure, but I definitely want to know what's going on with the fortress though.
So with the Fortress of Solitude, it must be under attack at some point, because we see him beat up out in the snow at the opening shot. You know, beat up so bad that Crypto has to come rescue him. And then we see a lot of fortress stuff, some sunstone coming out of the ice, like someone might be lifting up the fortress or something. But there's also that shot of the robot that is destroyed from the waist down, which is clearly a fortress robot. Go read All-Star Superman. That's exactly what they look like, a android robot body with a blue cape.
And he's clearly like just like freaking out over its half body kind of thing. Like something's happening into this exact sequence. And yeah, he does look a little beat up here even now.
He looks pretty sad for just like maybe he does care about like his robot buddy that much, but I think if like the fortress is like being wrecked by something, that would get him pretty upset.
Also, don't notice it's like holding a screwdriver or something.
Oh, it is. But he's like holding hands with the robot, so he must be like really torn up about it. I guess.
Well, yeah, he definitely is. It's just, but why though? Like something, like there's something that we just don't know. But again, that's a teaser. Of course, we don't know. But I just generally want to know. And if I found James Gunn, if I randomly found James Gunn on the street, it would be take everything in my power not to just hold them down. He'd be like, "Tell me everything."
Okay, I think there's a shot of some buildings coming down in Metropolis. So I think that must be connected to the big kaiju fight. So maybe Superman isn't able to stop the kaiju in time or something. The other heroes have to come in and help, and that's why everyone is mad at Superman and why Guy Gardner is like, "Hey, we need to talk. What's going on?" Like,
it would make the most, like that shot right there of him lifting something is probably saving those buildings. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because
Because the way it's falling, it makes it like I feel like the shot of him straining right here is probably those buildings having like about to fall in another building, and he's just stopping it from hitting it. That's again, this is speculation. I'm not going to be like that's exactly what's happening. I have no fucking idea.
yeah, we don't know. We only get one shot of Metamorpho, but the cool thing about that is that he's practical. He's not CGI. This is like prosthetics.
That was the most shocking thing about it because I didn't realize it was him at first.
Yeah, I had to watch it like two or three times, but then I finally noticed the purple and orange on him. He has like the gray face, and then his upper body is like half orange and half purple.
Yeah, that's the only way to really, or not only way, but it's like the main way of knowing it's him, and then that and knowing the actor. Because once I really looked at him, like, okay, now I see the face shape of
Hmm.
Anthony Carrigan, I think is his name. Um, because that's like, but yeah. Then once you really look at him, because I had people being like, "Who is this? Is it some new villain?" And then I really looked at it, I'm like, "Oh no, that's Metamorpho! Holy shit!" Because yeah, him being practical, mind blows, blew my
Yeah, so
mind saying that.
if you're unfamiliar with Metamorpho, though, he is created by Simon Stagg, the bad guy who's like a businessman type who runs Stagg Industries or Stagg Enterprises, and this isn't a Superman origin movie, but maybe it's a Metamorpho origin movie. I don't know.
That would
I'm
be
curious how he's
fascinating.
going to be used. Like he doesn't seem to be affiliated with Mister Terrific and Hawk Girl and Guy Gardner. He seems to be doing his own thing, you know.
Yeah, I just always assumed he was going to, and that's why I'm always surprised that of what we've seen so far, that doesn't seem to be the case. But we're not. But I want to see him his full body. That's what I want to see. I want to see exactly what the whole thing looks like.
I wonder if this will be like if Lex is trying to create something to fight Superman. Like I think like the black suit, I think that might be like some type of Bizarro clone or something like that. Like a science experiment from Luthor. Uh we don't know of any, Kryptonians that are going to be in the movie other than Kara Zor-El, and like the black figure is like too big to be her. We see Lex kind of beat up in one shot. I was thinking like maybe that's him. Maybe like his creation turned against him or something.
Yeah, then we've seen some. There's some set photos that give us more speculation if you know about them about the big guy, and then but I don't want to say it in case people don't want to get spoiled on those specific things because I want to go based on what we're seeing. I don't want to go based on like set photos because set photos they don't really tell a whole picture every single time, especially when they're not in motion. But there's enough of that for me to speculate what's going on with this guy because he's clearly strong because he's like fighting Superman in a stadium in the middle of the shot.
Yeah, yeah, and I think he can fly also, just because how he's able to like push Superman in the baseball field. Metropolis Meteors.
I do like that. That's their name. I don't know what Metropolis's baseball team's usually named. I know they use the meteors usually for like Smallville type things. So I think that's interesting.
Smallville, it's the Crows, right? Or no, when they talk about Metropolis in Smallville, yeah, it's like either
Yeah,
like the Meteors or the Metros or something like that. Um, but I
might be
like
based on that.
that's some like classic like Superman stuff though. Like I'm gonna fight you in a baseball field. Like that's like that all American type
Yeah,
Superman imagery, you know. But
there's
yeah,
a lot of great imagery.
I don't know who the black suit figure is, but if I'm right, if it is like something that Lex created, like maybe there's a bit of an arms race to create metahumans in the DCU. Like maybe Simon Stagg is creating Metamorpho, and Maxwell Lord is trying to recruit his own like super team, and Luthor is trying to make his own like monster to fight Superman. Because there's a lot of these corporate type entities, which is kind of funny because that's like in our real life how whenever there's like a new cool concept, it always there's always like some like corporate desire to control it and monetize it. And
Yeah, and Gunn has pretty much said that Lex is going to be a very intelligent guy. He's not just going to be some businessman in the background. He's gonna be able to make stuff that's that's wildly vast. Like he's gonna be the mad scientist type idea more than the rest of them ever been.
Yeah, and I'm very excited about that. Like, I'm okay with billionaire Lex if he got his billions like through his mad scientist science.
Yeah, exactly. I do love that you can see that the yellow S is on the back of Crypto's cape as well. That
He's
just
got
makes
the
me
yellow.
happy.
He's got the yellow S on his cape, and he also has like a medallion thing on his collar that's like a triangular S shield thing. So
I love him so much.
they went all in on Crypto. Like that's like exactly how like an artist would draw him in the well, not exactly because I guess a lot of times he's depicted as like a big, strong, muscular dog. Like how Superman's often drawn as a bodybuilder type. A lot of times they'll get like a big ass like lab or like a big like wolf looking dog and give that
Yeah, and the new
body to
52 was
Crypto.
like straight up a wolf, and then
Yeah.
he was like a big buff, not yeah, sort of buff Labrador, and his main things. Even that last movie, he was like kind of more of a. He still looked like more of a little muscular
Yeah.
Labrador.
I like this little shaggy dog though. I like that he's kind of derpy. He's kind of like goofy. He's a good boy though.
Oh
I
yeah,
love this dog.
he's the best boy, and I've only had him for a day or half a day, and I would kill everyone in this room if anything happened to him.
But we need that in the movie. It's so like you need like this black suit guy needs to like kick Crypto or something, just like to piss off Superman and piss off the audience, and then we can all root for him to get his ass beat the
That's
hell up.
true. Guys, you guys don't sleep on Crypto. Crypto's the bestest of boy. He's so fucking great.
There's a cool shot of Mr. Terrific using his T-spheres in action against. I don't. They look kind of advanced to be like real life military. So I don't know who these stormtrooper dudes are that are shooting at Mr. Terrific. But
Well, based on the way there's like tents and stuff, they seem to be some sort of military operation type thing. But I can't tell because, like, this is the other thing that looks like it could have been from that teaser shot when they all come out of the tents.
right. There is a shot in the teaser trailer for the teaser trailer of people stepping out of the tents and looking up.
Yeah, because they all have like Hawaiian shirts in that sequence, and all of these guys are wearing the same thing.
So that's interesting. So it's a Hawaiian shirted army taking up arms against Mr. Terrific.
Yeah, there's something fascinating about all this, and I can't wait to find out what all of it means.
Mr. Terrific looks terrific. If people are unfamiliar with him, he is the comics always call him the third smartest man in the world, but I think he should just be the smartest man in the world. Like it's okay if someone's smarter than Batman and Lex Luthor, So
I disagree, but that's more because I want Lex to be the smartest because Lex does not do second place.
well, I'm sure he would agree with that, but he's got like a lot of like cool gadgets, like these T-sphere things that I think a good way to compare those to something that's relevant right now would be like Dr. Robotnik's drones in the Sonic movies. He's basically he builds all these like these cool little high tech things like that can project force fields and attack and do all kinds of
Using Mr.
ridiculous
Terrific
stuff.
at all is so really using Mr. Terrific, Crypto, Guy Gardner. Those three by default made me be like, oh, this guy means business when it comes to comics because these aren't mainstream characters like at least not in the way, not in the classical sense, if that makes sense, because the Justice League show brought Hot Girl to the forefront. I know the Arrowverse tried doing that with Mr. Terrific, but nobody really liked that version of him, and so it's like there's so many of these characters that I feel like you not only bringing them to the forefront, but making them look just amazing. Like Mr. Terrific, I love the way his mask works. Like if you saw that shot you had where it stops like right before his lips do, so it's not like completely that way. Like it's not like it's face painted on him. It's like a literal mask, and I think
Yeah,
that's fascinating.
like it was like molded for his face or something.
I think
But
it's really cool.
it's totally accurate to the comic. Like this is how he looked when he was reimagined for the JSA comics.
Yeah, he looks so great, and then his jacket I think also has the stuff
Fair
on the side
play.
of it. Yeah, the fair play on the side. I don't think you can see it here, but I remember seeing it in like set photos and stuff. But he's a great fucking character, and I'm hoping that this really brings more attention to him as a character.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be one of the more prominent of these other characters based on some of the things Gunn has said. But this is a really lived in DC universe. It has like a ton of like crazy things have been going on in this universe for a long time. If we're already at the point where there's multiple Green Lanterns, where the Mr. Terrific mantle has been, because there was like a golden age Mr. Terrific and then like a modern Mr. Terrific. So I don't know if they're gonna like incorporate that kind of history, but I'm assuming since there's like already so many superheroes active in this early Superman story set early in Superman's career, I'm thinking there was probably like a World War II JSA back in the day.
I kind of hope so. I would love for the Flash world, like the world of the Flash, to have a Jay Garrick.
Yeah, I mean that would be cool if they even like went and made like a JSA movie. Like that could, like, anything is possible in this new DCU. They could always flash back to the JSA.
Yeah, he's trying to treat the DC universe as not like the MCU. Like he said, it was more like Star Wars, where like you can just make stories that are just happening randomly.
They don't have to be connected.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like, and then this sets up this, and this sets up this. It's like, well, it can if you want it to, but like for the most part, it's just, we're just gonna make a fun little show in the middle of all this that happens to take place in that same universe. And I kind of hope that, God, I'm so hopeful. This is the thing I'm going to say the most about this trailer, and I've heard it from everyone who's watched it. I'm hopeful. That's everything to me, that for the first time. And I don't mean like I hope the movie's great. No, I mean like I feel hope watching this trailer every single time. It shines through like the sun in a pair of shades that are not, all the way closed.
But yeah, I get what you mean, and I have some pretty high expectations for this movie, but that's just because I love Gunn as a filmmaker so much. I love this character so much, and I think they're going to prove to be a really good fit for one another. I think Gunn's at a point in his career. He's told all these stories with characters that deal with a lot of like toxic masculinity. My friend, the YouTuber Jesse Gender, has like this really great video on analyzing like all of Gunn's movies and some of the common tropes that come up throughout them. And I think he's like mature enough in his like career and like as a person, just based on, comments he mentioned, like when Disney fired him and stuff like that, and how he kind of had to deal with that. But I think he's like at a great point in his career to like tell this story of like of a literal like Superman, like this guy who like does like he's just like that great example of who a man can be or should be, that can inspire us, that we can like look up to.
He gets the assignment. Dave finding out that David Corns is, how do you say his last name?
Cornswet.
Cornswet. I don't want to get it wrong.
Corn sweat.
Corn sweat.
It sounds like corn sweat, because
it does, which is why I was trying not to
corn
say it.
sweat.
I figured I was saying it wrong. Finding out that he's the reason they're red trunks says everything I need to know about the guy. Like, the man fought for them, and I've never been happier that he fought for them. Also, the craziest thing is finding out that Zack Snyder wanted the trunks really badly, but he couldn't figure it out on his own. And like, that's always the most surprising thing about it. And that James Gunn was the one that was like, I don't know, like when he was doing this movie originally, only to be like, no, that makes sense for him to dress like that. And I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, the comment I remember hearing from Snyder was that like, that didn't make sense. That I couldn't think of a reason for it to exist in our world, in our movie. But I'm like, that could just be like standard Kryptonian garb. That's easy to explain,
I remember reading an interview with him where he's like, we tried like hundreds of ways. Like it just didn't work for what they ended up making the suit out of. Because the problem I always had was that suit looked too scaly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's that thing in modern movies, is that, in the era of 4K, they want everything to have so much texture and detail.
Yeah, there's like a shine to it. It's like, but it was it was like an armor thing. It would look more like an armor piece than it did anything else. And that having the trunks over it wouldn't work on that suit specifically. And I know as much as I would like, I love the trunks. That Man of Steel suit would not have worked on that Man of Steel suit, and I get it because what Zack Snyder was going for, he tried a million ways, like you said, but it just wasn't working for what he needed, what he was doing. And so with David Cornsweet being like, no, we can make it work. Like, this is a man who can do everything, but he doesn't want to scare people. And what's the best way of not scaring people is dressing like you're like, a fucking wrestler, like a guy who wears, his shorts over himself, like a fantastical, fun person kind of thing. And I'm like, you fucking get it, dude.
Just speaking of the suit, I definitely like a lot of it. I have a few issues with it. Like I think I would have preferred if they got rid of like the Jim Lee New 52 lines, that it has all those extra lines all over the place.
It is, but it is the weakest part of the entire thing. That and it's
the collar.
The collar is the other part, because I wish it was more like the open neck section that or not all, but like 90% of Superman's suits have. Because that was the thing that I was always thrown off by whenever I looked at the suit. I was like, there's something off about this, and I couldn't figure it out until somebody pointed it out. I'm like, yeah, I wish he had the open collar, and then it hit me all at once. It's like, oh, that's why it looks weird to me. But I'm hoping there's a change to it or something at some point. But the way it is right now, it seems to be like to me, it's the fusion of both the classic and the New 52 one into one.
It borrows
suit.
from a lot, yeah.
The only other suit I've seen like it is the Fortnite version of the suit, which is exactly what I said. It's a fusion of the two. So that's what a lot of people have been comparing it to, that suit, because that seems to be the closest thing to it right now, which I find interesting more than anything. But I just like that it's a bright blue. That was the other thing I really liked. I was worried
the colors are great.
I was worried it was going to be a dark blue the way that it kind of looked in that teaser image, but now we know it's because the suit's all messed up. And so seeing what it looks like outside of that, and in motion, by the way, really sells how that thing pops on the screen.
But with the high collar, my issue with that's always that, like, you can't wear this under your Clark Kent clothes. You're gonna have your blue Superman collar poking out at the top of your shirt. You really need like that low collar to be in disguise. But I'm not gonna overthink it.
No, I get it, because that was one of the reasons why I hated the collar originally. But then the New 52 gave a reason why that was the thing, because he wasn't actually wearing a suit. It was like it was a nanotech thing. So right. I'm like, I hope they don't do that with this. Like, I don't think they're going to, based on how it looks like it gets damaged.
Although, have you ever tried to put on a cape under a shirt and then have your cape like folded up like in your shirt? I've attempted it. I've attempted to do the Clark Kent thing. Don't ask me why. It's really difficult though to like get all that packed into your shirt.
I tried it once because I also got curious as to whether or not this was doable. And it wasn't even a big cape. It was like a cape I got at Six Flags or something. And even I was like, this is really uncomfortable. And it was impossible to hide too, by the way. Like even with that cape, because it was like right where the collar was, kind of thing.
But speaking of like texture and little detail when you zoom in on stuff, there is like a lot of like texture to the suit. It kind of has that Spider-Man suit basketball looking material look to it.
Yeah, and then I never noticed that the way the shoulder is that it has like an L for where the cape connects, kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of lining. Yeah, too much lining, I think, in my opinion. Mild criticism, but overall, this is one of the best Superman suits I've seen in a long time. Just the fact alone that it has both trunks, that it's bright blue, and that it has the yellow S shield on the back of the cape makes it like one of the best. That makes it one of the all-time best, regardless of how many Jim Lee New 52 lines are on it.
Yeah, I haven't. Superman hasn't had a bright blue suit in a very long time. As much as I love Superman Lois, that was its biggest flaw, was that it was always a very dark blue and a very dark red. It had
that Man of Steel kind of color palette.
Yeah, and so his suit never popped the way it should. Because that's the thing about Superman and the colors of him being bright, is that everything pops that in a way that makes him so larger than life because of it. And it also works as like being such a different so being so different next to Batman, who's the exact opposite. And so when you make them both dark, then that doesn't work the same way, in my opinion.
Well, any other thoughts you want to share on the trailer? I think we covered all of it.
Well, there's no specific thoughts I have about that I have left in this specific one. I want to bring up the teaser real quick
Oh, cool.
because I want to bring up how great the Daily Planet staff looks.
Yeah, we should talk because we do get like that really great shot of them, and knowing that there's like a theatrical trailer that's a little bit different. I've heard it's like a little bit different than the trailer that was released online that we've been looking at. I'm wondering if maybe they incorporate some of the stuff from the teaser into that.
Yeah, because like, why would you have all those shots and then just not have it in there, kind of thing? And I love the fact that the teaser has a large group of the staff. Like the only person I don't see in the shot is the chief.
Yeah, so we get this gorgeous look at the exterior of the Daily Planet building. They're not embarrassed of the big globe, like some filmmakers.
Yeah, and so you see the main five people that are the main cast of the Daily Planet.
Yeah, we got
So
Steve Lombard,
got
Jimmy
Steve Lombard,
Olsen.
who looks so Lombard.
Yeah, the stash. He's just gotta have a Ted Lasso stash and a polo shirt, and there you go.
He's the
Steve
exact type of
Lombard.
dude that when you're at work, you're like, I don't want to talk to that guy because he says the weirdest shit.
Yeah. Jimmy Olsen, Lois Lane, Cat Grant, Ron Troop.
Who I am so happy is getting to be shown for once. Ron Troop. He's the underrated character of the Daily Planet. And Cat Grant has a very interesting look. I think she has one of the more interesting looks out of everybody because I did not anticipate exactly the look, but it looks
But
good for what it is.
they're all immediately recognizable too. If you're familiar with these characters from the comics, just looking at the shot, you know exactly who is who.
Yeah, and I feel like Jimmy has worn that exact outfit in something, like that exact color and pattern. And Lois is wearing, it looks kind of like a purple outfit, but like a darker purple.
Oh yeah, I like
Looks
Lois
really
in purple.
It looks really good. And then the rest of the shots of the teaser are just like people reacting to something. And I kind of want to know what that's all about.
Yeah,
Because
but
they're all
like
looking up.
the marketing tagline has been like "look up." I think this might be Perry White here. Well, no, we're not in the Daily
No,
Planet. This is a
isn't
different.
Daily Planet.
Okay, this
These
is
are
different.
just citizens of
Yeah.
Metropolis reacting, probably to Superman first appearing. Is my speculation about it, because everybody's looking up for the most part. And then there's this really great shot that reminds me of Man of Steel when he's flying for the first time. And it's just seeing that S just made me so happy.
And Gunn said that he drew inspiration from Top Gun Maverick and how some of the aerial stuff was shot in that movie, and how some of those shots were created using drones.
That would
So
make a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, so I guess they like the way they do that type of stuff these days is you just fly a drone around to get the footage, and then you can superimpose Superman or your Top Gun plane or whatever, into it. Here's the
Yeah,
Hawaiian
exactly.
shirts you're talking about when people are like
Yeah.
stepping out of the tent in the teaser.
Yeah, so this is clearly that same shot, or not shot, but that same scene. We just don't know what's going on with it.
They're Luthor Corp people, so that is some Luthor Corp stuff going on.
Oh.
They have some Luthor Corp paperwork.
So somebody's attacking Lex's stuff, possibly, or maybe hijacked his stuff. That's a possibility. But I love the marketing tag. That's just look up, and I like the song. I like the song version they use in this, but it's closer to what we said, where it's that melancholy version of it, and it with the normal teaser just fuels my speculation that much harder. And I can't, like, this is the only shot I think that's in the actual teaser trailer is him flying upwards, and that's it. And I'm fascinated because I desperately want to know more about this movie, and I haven't been this excited for a DC movie since Shazam, the first one.
Yeah, and I was saying I do have like high hopes and high expectations of this movie, but honestly, if I say it this way, it doesn't sound like I'm asking for too much. I want this to be my favorite Superman movie in my lifetime, which is not that high of a bar. That just means
No.
Superman 4, Superman Returns, and Man of Steel. It's going to be better than those three, which I think is very doable.
Yeah, I want to be able to be in a world where I'm like, I remember where I was when this movie came out, kind of thing. Instead of being like, I remember messaging a friend after Man of Steel going, did Superman just kill a guy?
Well, I know where I'm going to be on July 11th, and I'm hoping everyone else, if you're not looking forward to this movie as much as I am, I hope you have something else great in your life that you're looking forward to next year, because it's nice to know that there is going to be a big reward if I can make it these next 7 months. It's going to pay off.
Yeah, I'm so excited, guys. I can't. I'm gonna buy the hell out of a figure of this the second it comes out too.
Yeah, I haven't even. The only thing that I've bought is the shirt, like you have the shirt with the movie logo. I bought mine, but I'm still waiting on it to come in the mail. But
I need to buy more. I need a closet full of these, just to wear undershirts.
But I think that's gonna do it. We're gonna sign off here in a second. Just want to tell everyone. I know that before I talked about doing a show all about Superman and Lois, now that series has ended, so we still want to do that at some point, and that's just gonna have to wait until January after.
I think it gives the audience time to watch it too, as well.
Yeah, finish Superman and Lois. It's worth your time and attention. One of the greatest depictions
also,
of a character ever.
Apparently, they might be re-releasing a Blu-ray of all of it in April.
I saw that. So, and my birthday's in April, so if anyone wants to get me something, there you go. You know what I want. Before we go, anything else Superman related that you've been enjoying lately this month?
Just the normal stuff. Where Action Comics is still going strong with Mark Waid's current storyline about the Phantom Zone, as well as World's Finest. They think they just came out with a new one this week. I haven't had a chance to read that one, but I it's a Jimmy Olsen Batgirl story, so that already makes me happy. And then Absolute Superman #2 was fantastic.
#2 was good.
I was so happy with how it was. The fact that Lois is like, wait, I like to write, but it's mostly about the truth, it turns out. So I'm curious to see where all that goes.
Yeah, right on. I've also been enjoying Absolute Superman. If for some reason I discovered the novel Superman, The High-Flying History of America's Most Enduring Hero. The audiobook is on Spotify.
Oh, wow.
It's a really good book by Larry Ty. I've been listening to it, and I thought I knew a lot about Superman's creators, Jerry Siegel and Joel Shuster, but I'm learning a lot more new stuff in here, and like a lot of stuff about like the 40s radio show and that kind of stuff from like the character's very early history.
Okay.
So
yeah, it's crazy how much those things inspired later things.
Totally. And it kind of inspired me to go reread Superman Smashes the Klan. So I've been rereading. That's another great title I recommend.
If you're curious about that specific story, there's actually a great episode of Drunk History about it.
Oh, nice. I need to check that out too.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to more Absolute Superman soon. I'm looking forward. Eventually, we're going to get that 3rd season of My Adventures with Superman on Cartoon Network, so I'm dying for that. But, of course, the big one, I'm really looking forward to James Gunn's Superman coming July 11th.
Yeah, it's so exciting.
But that'll be it for today, but we'll be back sometime in January talking about Superman and Lois, and if there's any like big news with this movie, we'll cover that. And until next time, everyone have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and a Happy New Year, and keep it super.